So, folks, we got to talk about how Donald Trump has done the single most corrupt act I think any president or political movement has ever done in the history of America. And I know that that sounds hyperbolic. I know that that sounds perhaps like I'm trying to sell you something here, but the reality is that Donald Trump has announced that there is a settlement between himself and the US government, specifically the IRS. Essentially, this was over the fact that someone within the IRS leaked his tax returns to the media, and he was suing the IRS for $10 billion. And this settlement effectively gives Donald Trump control over a $1.7 billion fund that can be used at Donald Trump's discretion to pay out to anyone who feels they have been sufficiently wronged by the US government. What this effectively means is that Donald Trump has taken control of about 1.7 billion of your dollars that you guys paid taxes into, is now going to use it to reward his most ardent supporters. This actually has quite a precedent when it comes to different political movements throughout history. Because when you are the head of a cult of personality, right, a large, far-ranging cult of personality, a political movement centered on you, one of the things that is important is ensuring that there is a system that rewards loyalty, that creates a material benefit to people who support you. And what this slush fund effectively does is create that material benefit. Donald Trump can dole this out to basically anyone that he feels has earned his favor. There's not really any check or balance on this. There's also no transparency. Unlike most government funds that have congressional oversight, this one doesn't have any oversight, meaning that there are untraceable payments being made from this fund, meaning we don't know who's getting the money. We don't know how much people are getting. We don't know how Donald Trump is making decisions about where this money goes. It's just outright theft of $1.7 billion. And there's not really any other way of saying it. This is the most corrupt thing any politician has ever done. He is going to use this as a tool. For a long time, he's relied on the stick. You know, he hasn't really had a carrot. Donald Trump has like endorsements, but mostly he has attacks. You know, we've seen this with, for example, Thomas Massie. After Thomas Massie signed on with Democrats to the Epstein Transparency Act, Donald Trump attacked him with the stick to show other Republicans what happens when you cross Donald Trump. What happens when you do something that makes Donald Trump look bad? What is going to happen now is that he has a carrot. And that incentivizes anyone in his base, any one of his supporters who acts out of line, to just not worry about it, because there's $1.7 billion that can come to your aid for legal defense, to pay you directly if you lose your job. What it does is create an incentive. People who back Donald Trump ideologically, politically, whatever, to encourage and support him doing more illegal activities, because as long as Donald Trump comes out on top, it doesn't matter what laws were broken. It doesn't matter whether the Constitution even exists or not, because what matters is he's loyal to the people who are loyal to him, and he is willing to break any norm and any law in order to see that through. And what that does is put Donald Trump above the very Constitution and institutions of the United States of America. This is, this isn't to mention the fact that the primary people who are going to be benefiting from this are people who supported Donald Trump's insurrection against the United States government. And that means that this is fraught with a whole host of issues. In particular, we have questions around one of the amendments, specifically when it comes to, I believe, the 15th Amendment, the 14th Amendment. There we go. Which prohibits the government from assuming any obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States. This is directly unconstitutional, this fund. It is directly in violation not of only the laws of America passed by Congress, it is in violation of the very constitution of the government itself. This is point blank illegal on every front. And this is not just illegal, it is a theft from you. You paid taxes into this fund that Donald Trump is going to use for his own benefit. The largest single amount of money controlled by any president with no congressional oversight. Yeah, exactly, sweet and sour Serena. This is unspeakably dangerous. I gotta be honest, this is an attempt to subvert the very concept of American democracy. Insurrection, oh, you mean how the Dems bypass voting for a candidate just to try and install Harris? The Democratic Party is a private organization. They can run internal primaries how they want. It's not how I would do it, but how the Democrats operated their primaries in 2024 is not the same thing as the president of the United States stealing money from the American taxpayer to almost the tune of almost $2 billion so that he can have a private fund to pay off his cronies. Like, fuck, man. Conservatives will come into chat and talk about how, like, black people deserve to be shot for shoplifting. But when the president of the United States steals $2 billion from you specifically, you're totally fine with it. You're like, well, that other guy might be doing something I don't like that's completely unrelated, so it's fine. I don't understand you people. I do not understand you people. What you're saying is not real. It is absolutely real. In fact, here's some reporting about it from just the other day. Oh, the other day? I meant today. DOJ official told GOP ally that big payouts were coming for January 6th defendants because this is a real slush fund for real people that is being stolen from the American population. And I want to point out here that this was communicated prior to the DOJ unveiling this initiative. The DOJ was openly talking to Republicans and telling them, don't worry, guys, you're going to get billions of dollars from this. This is blatant political corruption. This is blatant to an unspeakable degree. This is one of the greatest thefts in American history. Here is another one. IRS to drop audits of Trump and family. So this is another part. This is from the New York Times. The last article is from NBC. The first article is from the New Republic, right? This one, IRS to drop audits of Trump and family. Now, that's a pretty oddly benign headline, but as part of this $1.7 billion slush fund, right? Billion with a B. Apparently, there is now an additional caveat added to all of this, which is that the DOJ released this particular document. Here's a letter directly from the Office of the Attorney General of the United States, dated May 19th. That's today. The settlement agreement in Trump versus Internal Revenue Service has created the Anti-Weaponization Fund. The settlement agreement directed the Attorney General to issue an order establishing funding and any other relevant requirements for the fund. Capitalized terms in this agreement shall have the same meaning as in the settlement agreement. The United States releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs from and is hereby forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, counterclaims, causes of action, appeals, or requests for any relief, including injunctive relief, monetary relief, damages, examinations, or similar or related reviews, appeals, debt relief, costs, attorney's fees, expenses, and or interest, whether presently known or unknown, that as of the effective date of the settlement agreement have been or could have been asserted by defendants against any of the plaintiffs or related or affiliated individuals, including without limitation, family or others filing jointly, or parties including trusts, parent, sister, or related companies, affiliates, and subsidiaries by reason of, with respect to, in connection with, or which arise out of one, any matters that were raised or could have been raised in the case or the pending agency claims, two, lawfare and or weaponization, or three, any matters currently pending or that could be pending, including tax returns filed before the effective date, before defendants, or other agencies or departments. What this effectively says is that the Trump family, the entirety of the family, cannot be audited forever. That in perpetuity, the Trump family is exempt from these laws, exempt from this oversight, exempt from investigation. And it's worth noting that, the Dems on the House Judiciary Committee are portraying this as a super pardon for the entirety of the Trump family, as well as, Donald Trump himself. Under what justification? Under the justification of the settlement. Now, it is worth noting here that, of course, this is just an agreement put out by the DOJ. This is not as binding and as permanent as a pardon. But what it is a one-page document that very, very clearly lays out a connection between the Trump family and clear political corruption. Like, this can't be enforced and will almost certainly be used as evidence in the future against Donald Trump and his entire family. Basically, everyone involved in this. Because I can guarantee you this. After the midterms, when Democrats win power, they will be able to do everything in their power to block payments out of this fund, and they will be able to request any documentation and have it be brought as testimony and evidence before Congress to find out what payments were made, when those payments were made, to whom those payments were made. The invisible nature of this fund is not going to last forever, and anyone associated with it is going to go to prison. Like, this is, again, the most corrupt thing any politician in the history of America has done. Anyone who is associated with putting this into place, anyone who is associated with getting money from it, anyone who's associated from even asking for money from it, is going to be subject to intense investigation and is most likely going to go to prison. It is going to be a prerequisite from any Democrat running in 2028 that they run on prosecuting every single person involved with this blatant political corruption, this blatant theft from the American people, this blatant abuse of power, this blatant, frankly, treasonous act. What is being done here is illegal on so many fronts. It's genuinely crazy. This is why I do keep coming back around to the fact that one of the key bedrock positions in 2028 for Democrats has to be accountability. There needs to be accountability for politicians, for oligarchs, for the wealthiest top 1% of America, because the entire reason this is happening right now is because folks like Obama didn't prosecute the big banks and instead bailed them out in 2008. This is happening because time and time again, Democrats have allowed for blatant political corruption to go unchecked. And in fact, in some cases, rewarded. And at every juncture, that has allowed Republicans to become more and more blatantly corrupt in turn. There has been a ratcheting effect of hyping up the level of corruption, and it has culminated in this. And this is unsustainable. This level of theft is not sustainable for the American public. It is not sustainable for the Republic. It is not sustainable for us as a whole. And I think that what I'm getting at here is if there is any hope for the future of this republic, it rests on prosecuting these people to the fullest extent of every single law that they have broken. There need to be people who are serving multiple life sentences for the kind of corruption we have seen here. And I'm not just talking about during the Trump administration. I'm talking about we need to start going back in time. For as long as the statute of limitations allows us, people need to be prosecuted. So all of that being said, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Comments longer than 8 words really help in the algorithm. And also consider dropping those subs, donos, memberships, super chats. Support the show. You guys make it possible. And get involved, folks. Join your local Dems. Join your local DSA. It is only through organizing that we can push back this tide of corruption, that we can hold these liars and cheats accountable, that we can bring some semblance of justice back to our republic. It is incumbent upon us to organize towards that goal. Join your local Dems. Join your local DSA. If you need help, we can do that. Join our Discord. Reach out to GamerG for help with DSA. Reach out to Dragonfly for help with your local Dems. And last but not least, folks, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is comfortable, sexy lingerie that is non-tucking. Go check it out. Link down in the description. I tried to say doobly-doo and description at the same time. Did not work out. Go check it out. Link in the description. Let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather around. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, dating, plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack.